Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for this workshop on the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. Now, firstly, I just want to congratulate you for coming along and spending this time with this next hour with me. As I know we're all busy, but the fact that you've prioritised this workshop today is great. So let's make a start with some basic housekeeping so that we can run smoothly and run on time. So it'd be great to have your videos on today, but pop yourselves on mute. This webinar will be recorded and be sent out to you tomorrow. And if you have any questions, can you please write them in the chat, starting with the letter Q, so that my wonderful PA, Deb, who's on the call as well, can collate these questions when it's question time. And also just want to point out that the emails that may come out with the recording, if you can check your junk or your spam folder. But obviously you got the link to this webinar, so those emails have got through, so that's great. So today, small business owners are not ready or do not know what is required for grant applications. These grant applications have a short application period, which is sometimes as short as 4 weeks, and that's not a lot of time. And we're all busy. We're all small business owners. Someone's not on mute. There we go. Sorry. So today, who of you are small business owners? Put your hands up. That's great. Nearly all of you. And who is already too busy? Again, everybody. And who wears all the hats in their business? Or too many hats or more than one? Yes. Hi, I'm Fleming The Efficiency Coach. I'm a business coach and grant writer for small business. What I'm obsessed with is making sure that your business has the best opportunity to be successful. You know how there's never enough time in the day to write that grant application in the time that's given, and it's something that just never gets done because it just seems way too stressful. Well, what I do is to help you and your business to be ready. So when a grant program is released, you have the right tools and information at your fingertips to be able to present your business in the best possible way. Now, I love writing grant applications, and with my experience in managing government grant programs when I was at Latrobe Valley Authority here in Gippsland, a local state government agency, I was one of the ones that would approve and assess those grant applications. And now in my business, I have helped many small business owners to write their grant applications. I'm pretty upfront about how strong your project or idea is at the very beginning. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. And that's why I've got an 85% success rate in writing grant applications. Now, I've developed the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. And my guarantee to you is at the end of this hour together today, you'll have 7 clear steps to follow when writing grant applications. This is the process that I use and have used successfully with my clients. Now, success, what does this mean to you? And in relation to grant applications, we all want that approval. We all want that email coming back from the agency saying, yes, you've been approved, go ahead with that project that you made your application for. Now, it's important to get all the information up front. So this includes the criteria from the funding organisation, the extra information that they've given you in terms of what the grant is about, who it's supposed to benefit, why it's come about, what amount of money is available, the timeframes, and reading through that criteria, reading through the eligibility criteria. Is your business even able to apply? What's the criteria for the project or the grant that you're going to apply for? And this is where you're going to draft your outline. What are you going to put into your grant application? What is it, the project that you're going to apply for, and making sure that it fits within those guidelines. Then we're going to move on to your work plan. Now, planning is key here, and I use a numbered checklist with all the components that are required for that grant application. Now, this is the chance that you've got to bring your team together. Who's going to work on this grant application with you, and who's going to be part of that kickoff meeting. And it's also important to engage a grant writer. Now, that doesn't have to be me. There's plenty of grant writers out there, but it is important that you have somebody that knows what they're doing to help you with your grant application. Then we move on to creating and designing your own project plan. Now, this is what I do. It's quite detailed, and this outlines exactly how your project is going to happen, who's going to be involved, how you're going to allocate those tasks and actions, and also work out what priorities and interdependencies there are, and making sure this aligns with what the application period is as well. When is it due? What needs to be submitted? And how long do you need to give everybody to do those tasks? And as a chartered accountant, the costs of each project are always very important as well. You're going to have to know what you're applying for and have supporting documentation for all of those costs as well. This project plan will keep you on track right from the start of the process, right till the end of submission. Now, collating your supporting documents. What's even required for the grant applications? Most of the criteria and the information that comes out will detail all the supporting documentation that needs to be attached. And also, it's a good idea at this point to go into the grant portal to see what needs to be attached and how many attachments you can make as well. Where we write the letters from your collaborative partners, other businesses that you might be applying with, and other businesses and other people in the community that may benefit from this grant application that you're going to make. Now, getting quotes. Now, this is getting quotes from your suppliers and people that are going to help you with your grant. So this can take some time, and that's why making sure that this part is planned in your work plan of who you're going to get them from. You might even want to go out and get multiple quotes for the same project, just in case one doesn't come back. Because if you don't have your quotes, you won't be able to submit your grant application. Financial reports. So here in Victoria and Australia, any grant over $50,000 has to have 2 years of financial reports attached to it. And recently I had clients where they were making an application for a business that they'd just started, they'd taken over another business. They wanted to apply for a considerable grant, and therefore they didn't have 2 years of operating financial reports. So what we did, we went to their accountant and got him to write a letter, a signed letter, to explain the situation that they'd just taken over this business, but they did have the funds to be able to support this matching grant application, and that was accepted by the funding organisation. So, you know, that's an example where you might think, oh, 2 years of financial reports is required. Yes, it was required, but knowing that insight and knowing how to get around it and to get across the line and making sure that application can be submitted was really important and really valuable for that client. Now, GSD, that is get shit done. This is the key part to collating all these supporting documents for your grant application. And when I'm doing my grant applications, I don't write anything until all of these things are in my hot hands. So then we can pull out the best information to be able to move on to the next step. And this is where we come to writing your draft application. So going back to the key criteria that's outlined from the funding organisation, checking those assessment weightings. So what are they looking for? Are they looking for the outcomes for who this project's going to benefit? Are there particular audiences that this project needs to benefit? And also checking the word and the character limits. So a lot of grant applications are submitted in a portal where if you've created all your previous documents in a Word document, then you can copy and paste into the portal, but they'll cut off at the number of words and the character limits as well. So it's really important to check these at the start when you're writing the application, and knowing that you're going to answer that question with only 200 words or 1,000 words. And that'll give you an indication of how much detail to include and how to be really smart about writing that as well. This is the most important step in draft writing once you've got all your documents. So writing that draft application and sticking to what they've told you to do. It's like an assignment at uni. You need to follow the rules, because all grant applications or grant programs are competitive. And so it's first in, first served, and you've got to be top of that pile. So you don't want to miss out just because you've written too many words. And I always say maximize the words. So if there's 1,000 character limit, I'll write 999 characters for that particular question. Or if it's 200 words, it'll be 198 words. So I will absolutely write it in a concise and maximize what they're allowing us to include in our application. Now we've written our draft application, and then we need to go back and add our why and add our story. So as I said, it's first in, first served. I know, having worked in government, that when it comes to the assessments, they start at the top of the list. The first one that was submitted will be assessed first. And for some funding programs, they literally allocate the money to the first in, first served. And if the money runs out, the people after all those applications just simply miss out. So you need to be early, and you need to write in a real persuasive way to add your why and add your story. What do I mean? Why is your project the best? And if I'm the grant assessor, why should I approve your grant when I've got a whole lot of other applications sitting on my desk? And making sure you're including the benefits to the target audience, and also making sure, again, you're going back to the criteria, going back to the outcomes to be achieved from this grant program, and see what you can include in your application. Now that brings us to the step 7, the final step. And this is where we review, submit, and celebrate. Now, I find this the most exhilarating, but also nerve-wracking part of the process. So when you've done all the previous steps, you've got your application, you've got your final draft, you then need someone to review it. Now, I even get someone else to review my writing of grant applications. And if we're working on this together, we'll review it together and make sure that we are checking that we've got everything in there that we need. But the review is really important. So what I do, as I said before, I'll write it in a Word document. I'll then copy and paste the final draft into the portal that we need to submit in. I'll then give the login details to the client, and they'll read it and double check it in there. And then I actually get them to press submit. It's too nerve-wracking. So it's really important to submit your grant application as early as you can. And this is what I'm all about, getting ready to be, for your business to be ready to write those grant applications as soon as they come out. The problem with grants, we never know when they're going to come out. We never know how long they're going to give us. We never know how much funds are even available for a lot of programs. So you need to get in early and don't submit on the last day. If it closes at 11:59 on Friday night, do not aim to submit at 11:55 on the same day. So when you're doing your work plan, you actually want to plan it out that your deadlines and timeframes are actually either a couple of days, or if it's a longer period, even a week before, so that you can be ready to submit as early as possible. And making sure we're celebrating. Writing grant applications can be a long and tedious process and high pressure, but also enjoyable, working together to create an outcome for your business. And making sure if you followed all these steps, it is an easier process. But celebrate that submission, and then forget about it. There's nothing more you can do about it. And then just sit back and wait, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, for that approval to come through. And then the excitement is all over again, and you can start that project that you've done the application for. So there we have it. We've got the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. We're preparing, we're planning, we're creating and designing, We're collating those supporting documentation. We're writing our grant application. We're adding your why and your story. And then we're reviewing and pressing submit. Now, if you can pop into the chat and let me know what your biggest learning was from those 7 steps. I'd love to know what part of that, what part of I've just gone through was the most interesting or the most learned for you. Can you guys see the slides? Can I have a hands up if you can see the slides? Yep. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Just checking. David says collating info from others. Yeah, that's a really important step. So the letter of support, the quotes, they can make or break an application, because there's nothing worse than the application period going past and you haven't got those quotes in. Creating, designing, so work planning is really important, having that schedule. Characters and limits, yes, maximizing the space and using the limits. So I've seen some grant applications come in where they had 1,000 words for a particular question, and they have written about 3 sentences. And you need to be able to have enough words in there to tell your story. Because remember, the people assessing those grant applications know nothing about your business apart from what is in that application. And quite often we can't include photos, we can't include videos. So it's all down to that written application that you're going to submit. The accountant letter, yes, that was a really, because I had these clients thought, well, we can't apply. We can't have the 2 years of financial statements. They don't exist. And so that's where we had gone back to the funder. And, you know, you can contact the organisation who are providing the grant funds as well, and ask those questions. Send an email to them. If you've got specific questions, they're more than happy to help. They want people to apply. So they can do everything that they can to help you to apply. Craig says the biggest obstacle is being prepared to submit inside the short time frames. Absolutely, yeah, and that's why it is so important to be ready and have your business ready to go once those grant programs come out, because we never know. And even if they came out last year, doesn't mean they'll come out this year. So some other common questions I often get about grants are, where do I find grants for my business? So I'm based in Victoria in Australia. So the main ones I use, so these are all directories where you can have your search engines, and you can some of them are paid and some of them are free, and you can have your saved searches as well. So the Grants Hub, Business Victoria for state government grants, Business Australia for federal grants, the Grant Guru, and also Grants Ready. And there's plenty more, but they're the 5 main ones that I regularly check. Are there any grants to help me start a business? Now, remember, people, organisations and government agencies that have grant programs, they want to make sure they're getting something for their money. So there are not that many grants to help you to start a business. More often than not, they're for established business. They might be for startups that have been operating for maybe less than 3 years, but there are very few grants for anyone to start a business. And how are grants assessed? Now, each funding organisation can choose how they what they assess on. Basically, it's their money. They can create the guidelines as they wish and see you know, whatever the weightings they give as well. So it does vary from grant program to grant program, and that's why it's really important to make sure that you read through that criteria and the eligibility and the guidelines and the expected outcomes right at the very beginning of your grant writing process. Deb, have we got any more questions? Do I assist community groups or charity organisations apply experience successful. Yes, I do. So today, obviously, this is aimed more at the business grants, but the process is the same. And I have applied for grant applications for community groups with successful outcomes, absolutely. And again, the outcomes are different. It might not be a financial focus. It'll be more about getting a benefit for the community and those letters of support from other community groups that will benefit. But I follow the same process that I've outlined today for community groups. And LaunchVic, yes, that's another one for those startups. There are so many grant providers and directories out there, too many to list, but we can definitely work through some of those as well. So thank you for your questions. So I've worked with a number of businesses with their grant applications, and here are just some of them that have been successful, and we've worked on their grant applications over the last couple of years. So, and what are my clients saying? So Adam and Yulia from Newburn Park here in Gippsland, they did a business coaching program with me, and we also wrote 2 significant grant applications for them, which have, we're still waiting for the assessment, even though they were submitted just before Christmas. And these are 2 creatives that they had great grand ideas for their business expansion, and we followed this process, went through all the timelines, went through the work plan, and kept them on track to make sure that those applications got submitted on time. There were so many quotes, so many different letters of support that we got, and it was a really fun process to go through. Chris from Eaglehawk, so he was successful in getting a cool room for his farm shop, and that was a $25,000 equipment grant from the Latrobe Valley Authority, and that was a large application that needed to be submitted for that, and again, a lot of components. And Ben and Jessie, so we've applied for grants for them to move their side hustle into a full-time business. So Ben's been able to leave his other employment and move into his business, and so that was really cool to see that as well. So again, $27,000 worth of grants from one application and changing their life. So I've worked with heaps of clients, and these are just a couple of them that I'm really proud to say that we worked together, followed this process, and had successful grant applications. Now today, as a bonus for attending my workshop, I am offering a bonus of 1 grant writing application done for you by me. What does this mean? Basically, you find a grant that is appropriate, or we can assess whether it's appropriate for your business, and we can work through this process together to get that grant application submitted for you and your business. So for the first 7 people who apply and take action today, it's valued at $3,000 and only a bonus for this workshop viewers, and only for people that were registered through the Eventbrite tickets. So how can you work with us today? I've developed the Small Business Grant Readiness Program, a supported grant program designed so you can be ready for when that grant is released. It's going to run from April to July, so for 4 months, and you'll be armed with the tools you need to prepare a grant application for submission. You'll be able to pull the trigger and apply for that grant straight away. And we've talked about today how the time frame, the short time frames when we're already busy, is the number one issue when it comes to grants. So over this program, there'll be a series of masterclasses covering the grants process, where to find grants, your eligibility and assessment criteria explained. Then we'll work through some business and strategy planning, some project planning, the development of those key documents that we've talked about, going through the letters of support process, and creating those relationships early with those people that when a grant project comes up, then you already have that relationship with them, and it makes it so much easier. And then building your grants team with other businesses and collaborators, and so much more. I'll be with you side by side with the whole process. It starts in April, but but we will use the next 30 days to get ready and get started so that you are completely ready to go from April to get your grants sorted. There'll be monthly group sessions on a Monday or Tuesday evening. It'll be delivered by Zoom. There are limited places. So in all, I can't work with you all, and I want to make sure that everyone gets my attention and that everyone ends up with a solid work during this program and get the best benefit out for everybody. So there'll be no more than 8 businesses in each group. And if you are a husband and wife team, or there's a couple of business owners in your business, you can have 2 people attend each group session. So as I said, there'll be monthly group and also individual sessions. So each month we will also catch up and see how you're going and work on part of the program as well together. Recordings will be available for the group sessions for those that can't make it. And this will be everything will be contained in a portal that you'll be able to log into at your leisure. There'll be videos to watch and other homework exercises to do throughout the process. And there'll be dedicated email support from me. So what does it include? The 2 strategy review sessions, one at the beginning and one at the end, monthly group classes, a monthly one-on-one session with me. We'll also review your financial projections and your zero, if you've got zero. We'll develop your key documents so that whenever a grant application comes up, you've got it all ready to go. Dedicated email support, access to our Facebook community group, which I'll speak about in a moment. And remember, your grant application done for you. And as a participant in this program, for the life of the Efficiency Coach, you continue to get 50% off grant writing services going forward. So, after this program, you can either write your grants yourself, or you can still engage me to do that, and you'll get a 50% off everything. So this is a total value of $14,500. And today I'm allowing you to have an offer saving you up to $8,000 by paying in full for $6,500 plus GST, or the cash flow option is real small business, 5 monthly installments of $14.99 plus GST. So just paying one lot of $14.99 today. If you're interested in this, apply now. It is an application process, as not all businesses will be suitable for my program. So if you want to apply now, Deb will put the link in the chat. And then we can have a chat with you and work out what's best for you and your business for this program. So it will run from April to July, but it will start from today. So we will work together over the next 30 days to get all those documents sorted. I can't take on everybody. As I said, it's limited by the number in each group, and the first 7 people to apply will receive that bonus grant writing application as well. So you're all invited to also join my exclusive Facebook group, where I will be sharing my upcoming workshops and events, and you can connect with like-minded business owners so we can all be helped and encourage each other throughout this process. I'll be sharing my efficiency tips, information on grants that come out, and other tips as well, and any related content that will help businesses to thrive at the moment. Deb will also put in the link into the chat to join that Facebook group today. It's only going to be open for application, well, to join today. So do that now as well. And I'd love to see you in there. And there's a wee note in there to say, introduce yourselves, who you are, what your business is, and what you're aiming to achieve in 2022. Now, this quote is one of my favorites. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. It is all about your preparation, but so that you are ready for when those grants come through. So thank you for sharing your time with me today in today's workshop, and I hope you've come away with some clear tips and learning how the process works for how I operate my grant writing process. So thank you so much, and feel free to get in touch. Use those links to apply now for the program and to also join the Facebook group, and we will see you soon. Thank you.